Don't worry too much about scale. Scale in D&D, only matters, so it matters very little. Hold up a mini and say, like, does that look about right? It's fine. How do I balance terrain in the plot? Sometimes don't know when it's appropriate to place the terrain without making it anticlimactic in the process. Yeah, that's a good question. So it tends to pop up for me. I would say there are 3 different ways that I approach terrain in games. I think the one that probably everybody does the most, just because Matt Mercer has so popularized it, and then Dimension 20 and all the big shows do it too. The big combat kicks off, and you bring out a board, you bring out or you reveal a scene, whatever that big scene is, and then you use that terrain to like work out the combat. That's like super common. I'll also use terrain to represent an entire space if I can. And this is going to be a unique situation, but sometimes this would be the equivalent of like building out the entire dungeon on the table, covering it up and revealing pieces of it. Or sometimes it's an entire scene, like there's a desert battle, and I'll set that whole thing up. And there may be different things to explore throughout, like a few little small scenes that are built into one larger scene, and that whole thing is basically the whole thing's revealed at once in that case. And that could be probably the most work. The fanciest, most showy, most tricky way to use terrain is in those like I'm going to lay out an entire Feywild for whatever the reason is, but it's going to basically take up the whole session. Maybe they're moving through some sort of forest dungeon or something like that, or maybe they're dealing with multiple threats as they cross the battlefield. Whatever the situation is, that takes the most terrain to pull off. It takes the most space, and it can be really annoying if you don't then take care of everything in that one session. If everything carries over to a second session, you got to pull it all back out again. Third way, sometimes I'll just use it as like a reference, as a way of inspiring play. So a good example might be like with my this sort of like multi-story kind of like townhouse looking like my mansion here. Let's say the party is pulling a heist at a party held there. I might put that on the table, not to use all of its levels. There's an interior. It's not as detailed as this, but like when I say this, I may put together little bits of like exterior play around it, but for the most part, I'm putting that building on the table as inspiration for what everybody's going to do. For a while there, my party's headquarters was a guild hall. So I made this big kind of guild hall, and that would be out whenever we were there. That was sort of their like home base. And there were all these customizations we made to it for their characters. All that said, like those are the main types of approach, or the main sort of techniques that I use. That's what but I don't even use terrain every game, every session. Sometimes there'll be a few sessions. I'll use anything at this point. I'll use digital maps. I don't have like a virtual tabletop set up necessarily, but sometimes it's just a handout. Sometimes it's theater of the mind. I tend to go with whatever fits. I used to do a lot more building 2 scenarios, and now I look at like, okay, well, in this scenario, what makes sense? I've got a lot of stuff built. I do a lot fewer like bespoke things, which I know is crazy when I'm sitting in front of this, but this is a special case. So nowadays I will assemble something out of terrain that I have, or I'll, find the right map for the right fit. I'm curious, like, are you saying anticlimactic because it takes time to like bring it out? Is that what you're talking about? Where like it can sort of, create sort of a break in the energy maybe? Because I could kind of see that. Technically, when things pop off and then you've got to like roll initiative and everybody's got to kind of get situated, that sort of does the same thing, but I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing. Hey, Peter, welcome to the stream. You're somewhat new DM trying to learn how to do some more homemade crafts. Do I have any tips? I mean, do whatever you're inspired to do. I don't think that there are many rules about this stuff. You know, don't worry too much about scale. Scale in D&D, you know, only matters so it matters very little. Hold up a mini and say like, does that look about right? It's fine. Um, Lots of materials available. You can use cardboard. You can use foam. That's my preference. Uh, you can use clay. Anything goes really. 3D printing, if that's something you have access to. I mean, just represented here, I've got clay. There certainly is some cardboard stuff. My wife was kind enough to crochet some pieces, so I've got some. Actually, you can see 3 pieces from her that she made for the rugs in this build, and a whole lot of paper. By the way, a lot of this is like if you've got the patience to glue bits of paper together and tint them and make little scribbles and stuff on them, like all of this stuff is about as cheap as it gets in terms of making scatter. So, oh, I see what you're saying, Harrison. Yeah, if that's the case, I would. So, you were mentioning, I don't know if you've looked into, and I don't know if you like use magnets much in what you build. I don't know if they always have them in stock. I've got probably 10 of these. This is my jam. This is a Dwarven Forge. I think they call them terrain tray. Double-sided. It's got some texture on either side. This is this material. So in here is basically like a piece of steel. So it is so it's magnetic, right? Anything that's so works for their tiles, also works for anything else. And despite it being steel, like it's like curved at the edges. It's been rounded and stuff, so it's not going to hurt anybody. And then it's also got the material, and these things are solid. I would pick up some of these. This makes moving a bunch of stuff. You can make them if you don't want these. These are just like really, really solid. You can make a certain type of them using this. What is this? Would be a ready board, but the black stuff, the black kind with the paper that doesn't peel off very easily. It's a lot sturdier. And what I do now, granted, I'm not using it. It's not as flexible, but I draw these kind of 6-inch. Sorry, that's being unruly. These 6-inch grids within, and then I have a magnet stationed there. So I tried my best. I don't even know if I did in this case, but I try my best to keep my magnets going in the same direction. Looks like in this case, it's reversed. But for my like tiles and stuff like that, they work on this. Even if it's not magnetic though, these are actually pretty sturdy. And if you're careful about how you use them, this can be like a really cheap way to have an entire board set up and move it out, kind of custom fit to whatever size you have. If you have a specific place that you always play, cut some boards to those dimensions. You could even like sort of mark out on the table where it's going to go and cut it down so you're building a board every time, and you have a board every time that's going to fit exactly in the right spot. It'll also help people keep stuff out of the way. I should probably make a video about this at some point because it helps a lot. That way you're just moving one thing and it's not as much setup, you know. Oh, yeah, cool. Oh, that's great, Harrison. I would love to try that sometime. I've always been, what is it? Ultimate Dungeon Terrain. I really like that style. I just haven't found a way to use it, but I want to. For one of these times, one of my projects, I'm gonna like focus on doing that because it's such an interesting way to play with terrain and space.